J-Bone here, and I've got everything you need to know before you watch this weekend's 2024 Italian Grand Prix at Monza that I think is going to end up looking pretty familiar if you were watching Formula 1 back in 2021. Stay tuned for that conversation. J-Bone! Let's kick things off by quickly recapping this past weekend's Dutch Grand Prix so you have all the background information you need before we talk Monza. First and foremost, I am still in shock by what I just saw from Lando Norris at the Formula 1 Dutch Grand Prix. When the F1 summer break ended and the season resumed at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix, no driver in Formula 1 was under more pressure than McLaren's Lando Norris. This is because while McLaren undoubtedly had the fastest car on the grid, their top contender in the World Drivers' Championship, Lando Norris, only had one win to show for it, and that win was due to luck more than skill on account of a well-timed safety car in Miami. A combination of mistakes by Lando, mistakes by the McLaren pit wall, team orders, and Max Verstappen moving left meant Lando only had one win through this season's first 14 races, when that number easily could have been 5 or more. This would have meant Lando would be way closer to or even above Max Verstappen in the World Drivers' Championship standings entering the Dutch Grand Prix. Obviously that wasn't the case though, which is why there was so much pressure on Lando to perform well at Zandvoort and start actually achieving the F1 victories that he kept getting so close to. Things started off fantastic for Lando at Zandvoort as he took pole position by an insane third of a second over Max Verstappen at Max's home Grand Prix, demonstrating that he came to the Netherlands ready to silence the haters. However, one of the biggest reasons Lando didn't have more wins entering the Dutch Grand Prix was because of his poor race starts. And when the Dutch Grand Prix kicked off with Lando immediately losing first place to Max off the line before turn 1 due to a bad standing start, we all thought that we were in for another Lando Norris near win that was not meant to be. And that could not be further from what ended up happening. No, Lando drove as cool, calm, collected, and quick as you like after losing this place, eventually overtaking Max on lap 18, building a gap to Max, defending against an undercut attempt from Max, and building another gap to Max before crossing the checkered flag in first place, an absolutely mind-blowing 22 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen at Max's home race that Max had never lost at before. And the icing on top, the first thing that Lando said to his race engineer after the race was Max's catchphrase, "Simply lovely," in the most confident and cocky way possible. Lando finally has another F1 win, and this time it's one that nobody can ever say that he did not earn. You guys, I'm gonna call it now. I'm gonna do it. Lando Norris is going to be 2025's World Drivers' Champion, and there's nothing Max can do to stop him. But is he also gonna be 2024's? Stay tuned for that conversation. Next up, if you blinked, you might have missed the most important thing that happened at the Formula 1 Dutch Grand Prix. After McLaren's Lando Norris won the race by 22 seconds, but before Lando had made it to the driver cooldown room, Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who finished in second place, and Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who finished in third place, had an extremely short and subtle yet very important conversation. The video feed started a little too late for us to get the full context, but the conversation appears to start off with Verstappen and Leclerc both gesturing to indicate that the pace of the McLaren car is absolutely incredible and that their cars just can't keep up, with it looking like Max waves and says bye. These gestures are followed up by Leclerc asking Max how much Lando won the race over him by. Max responds, 20 seconds or something, 22 seconds. To which Leclerc responds by making a sad, surprised, and concerned face like only Charles Leclerc can do. This indicated that even Leclerc is shocked by how fast McLaren are right now, and Max responds, yeah, visibly upset. Leclerc, trying to figure out how it's possible that McLaren are so fast, then asks Max if McLaren ran an upgrade, and then they try to determine whether or not McLaren did, which they did, but which Lando later went on to say he would have won without. Now, the reason I think this short conversation is so important is that it seems to indicate that both Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc genuinely believe that the McLaren car is miles ahead of their cars, and if they're right, and that's true, which I have no reason to believe isn't the case, it could mean that McLaren have a very real chance at pulling off a miracle here this season and winning both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. The F1 summer break is now officially over, and when I look ahead to the remainder of the Formula 1 season, one race stands out to me in a big way, the Las Vegas Grand Prix, taking place November 21st through the 23rd. I've said ever since last year's awesome Vegas F1 race that if I could pick one 2024 race to attend, it would be the Las Vegas Grand Prix. There's truly nothing not to love about it. A circuit set up for a ton of overtaking, F1 cars racing at night under the lights, and of course, Las Vegas is an incomparable setting for the whole thing. I've heard the fan experience is second to none with the kind of food, drink, entertainment, and thrills you can only find in Las Vegas, and I think you should go see for yourself if that sounds like a great time to you like it does to me. Secure your tickets now so you don't miss out on attending what's sure to be an unforgettable weekend. For more details and to purchase tickets, visit the Las Vegas Grand Prix website at f1lasvegasgp.com/tickets. Before we move on to talking about the Italian Grand Prix, we need to talk about how my 3 bona fide Dutch Grand Prix race predictions turned out. I wish we didn't, but we do, if that gives you any indication of how wrong I was. My first prediction was that Max Verstappen would win his home race at Zandvoort. This one was a roller coaster ride for me, and not in a good way. More like a roller coaster ride that you yak at the end of. After qualifying, I thought this prediction was cooked as Lando destroyed Max and took pole position, but then Max passed Lando off the line at race start and got out of DRS range, and I thought I was a genius. But then Lando not only overtook Max, but pulled away from him and won the race by an absurd 22 seconds and made me look like a fool. My second prediction was that Fernando Alonso would finish in the points for just the 4th time in the last 9 races, and ding ding, J-Bone got that one right. J-Bone! Alonso managed to pass Nico Hülkenberg before the end of the race and finish P10 to take home 1 lone point. But more importantly, Alonso saved me from going 0 for 3 and dropping below 50% on the year, because my third race prediction was that a Williams car would finish in the points for just the 3rd time in the last 17 races. After Alex Albon qualified an incredible P8, I thought I was a genius and that this prediction was a lock to come true. Little did I know Alex Albon's car had a technical infringement and that he'd be disqualified from qualifying and starting the race P19 right behind his teammate Logan Sargeant in P18, meaning Williams' chances at a points finish were about as high as Logan Sargeant's chances at remaining in F1 through the rest of this season.
Crazy Formula One news. I am in absolute shock and disbelief. Logan Sargeant is out at Williams mid-season to be replaced by Franco Colapinto, of all people, the guy who's in 6th place in F2 right now. He's a Williams Academy driver. I'm not shocked at all that Logan was replaced mid-season. There were a ton of rumors that was going to happen. Makes a lot of sense. Logan's crashing their car right after they put upgrades on it. He's wasting their money. You could say he's wasting their time, but I'm very shocked at who they picked. Franco Colapinto, first off, shout out Argentina, your first F1 driver since 2001. That's awesome. Argentina has produced a World Drivers' Champion before, an arguable GOAT, Juan Manuel Fangio, but I'm shocked that they didn't go with like Stoffel Van Dorn or a more established driver, Mick Schumacher. If they wanted somebody to come in who's not going to crash the car, I think a rookie is a weird choice. But yeah, I am very excited to see this. Every time there's a new driver, it's very exciting. It's going to be the biggest story of the weekend now. How is Franco Colapinto going to do in his first F1 drive? I can't wait to find out. What an unbelievable thing to happen. I cannot wait. Let's go.
That 1 for 3 doo-doo fest puts me at 23 for 46 for the season thus far with my predictions, which is exactly 50%, and I now have to go at least 2 for 3 with my Italian Grand Prix predictions later on in this video in order to avoid dropping below 50% this season. So make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end here to check out those predictions and see if you think I can do it. Also, while you're here, be sure you're subscribed to my channel so you can get my F1 updates all season long and all off season long. And while you're subscribing, please leave a like on this video so that YouTube likes me more. I'm trying to get 2,000 likes on this video. If you could please help me out by liking it right now. Like right now. Now it's time to look ahead and talk about this weekend's Italian Grand Prix. The Formula One Italian Grand Prix takes place this weekend at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza in Monza and Brianza, Lombardy, Italy, Europe, Earth, Solar System, Milky Way universe. The Italian Grand Prix weekend starts this Friday, August 30th, which will consist of free practices 1 and 2. Saturday, August 31st, will consist of free practice 3 and qualifying, and Sunday, September 1st, will consist of the Grand Prix. That's also my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Here's a fun Formula One fact. The most frequently run Formula One race is the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and it's not even close. The Italian Grand Prix is one of just 2 Formula One races that has been held every single season since the start of the Formula One World Championship back in 1950, with the only other race to never be left off the F1 calendar being the British Grand Prix. Many people would think that the Monaco and Belgian Grand Prix would also be on this exclusive list, but they have been left off the calendars of 4 seasons and 6 seasons respectively. Now, I say the Italian Grand Prix at Monza has been run more than any other F1 race because while the British Grand Prix may have been held as many times as the Italian Grand Prix, its races have been split up across 3 different circuits, Silverstone, Aintree, and Brands Hatch, whereas the Italian Grand Prix has been held at Monza every single year since 1950, with the sole exception of the 1980 Italian Grand Prix, which was held at Imola while Monza was being renovated. I argue that this means Monza has the best case for being called the home of Formula One. Sorry, Silverstone. So while you take in the fun and excitement of this weekend's Formula One race at the Cathedral of Speed, Monza, you now know that you're also taking in some history. And who doesn't love some F1 history? I, J-Bone, do. J-Bone. Here are your storylines to follow for this weekend's 2024 Italian Grand Prix. First, is this the race where McLaren staked their claim for the World Drivers' Championship like they already have for the World Constructors' Championship? With 9 races remaining this season, Lando Norris trails Max Verstappen in the World Drivers' Championship by 70 points, while McLaren trail Red Bull in the World Constructors' Championship by 30 points. McLaren are actually the odds-on Vegas favorite to win the World Constructors' Championship now, given both their and Red Bull's opposing trajectories this season, one up, one down. But if they want a World Drivers' Championship to go along with it, that'd be a little more difficult given how solid Max was at the beginning of the season and how Lando failed to take advantage of some points haul opportunities mid-season. By finishing P1 with the fastest lap at Zandvoort, with Max finishing P2, Lando was able to shave 8 points off Max's lead over him in the World Drivers' Championship. If this ended up being the result at the remaining 9 races and 3 sprint races, it would be more than enough for Lando to overtake Max in the Drivers' Championship. Now imagine Max has a couple DNFs thrown in there as well, and you start to realize the battle for the 2024 Drivers' Championship is absolutely still on, especially if Lando can keep his Dutch momentum rolling at Monza. Your second storyline, will we see any driver moves during the Italian Grand Prix weekend? The biggest F1 rumor going around the paddock right now is that Mercedes will be announcing their second driver at the Italian Grand Prix race weekend on account of that driver being Kimi Antonelli, who is Italian and will be competing for Mercedes in FP1. I'm not totally sold on this idea yet, as Toto Wolff still seems very keen on recruiting Max Verstappen, and the more Max's championship lead dwindles, the better chance Toto has, but I think Kimi very well may be announced this weekend. Your third storyline, what's going on with Mercedes? Going from winning 3 out of 4 races to looking absolutely terrible is not very common, but that is what the Silver Arrows just did at Zandvoort by finishing an abysmal P7 and P8 there. Maybe it was a setup issue, maybe Zandvoort just didn't fit their car concept, I don't know, but regardless, Mercedes need to bounce back big at Monza if they want any shot of finishing ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship this season. If you're like me and have a ton of weddings and other formal events coming up that you need to look snazzy at, you need Indochino. Indochino is your style partner for made-to-measure, totally customizable men's and women's wear for wedding season and beyond, and right now, you can visit Indochino.com and use code FBONE to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. I always feel great wearing Indochino's garments to weddings and other events because they fit me just right, as they were literally custom made using my exact body measurements. How? You set up your measurement profile with Indochino in less than 10 minutes by measuring yourself from the comfort of your own home or making an appointment at one of their showrooms. I went to one of their showrooms and it was a super enjoyable and quick experience. You then place your suit order, including any special customizations to buttons, pockets, and more, and they do the rest before delivering a custom suit right to your door. I love their seersucker suit options for summer, but if you want any style of high-quality bespoke suit at an affordable price you cannot beat, hit up Indochino. Customize your summer style with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use code FBONE to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's 10% off at Indochino.com with code FBONE. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Here are my 3 bona fide race predictions for the 2024 F1 Italian Grand Prix. My first race prediction is that we'll have a McLaren 1-2 at Monza just like we did back in 2021. The McLaren car has been an absolute rocket ship lately, as evidenced by Lando Norris's insane win at Zandvoort, where he crossed the finish line over 22 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen in P2, as well as their performances in most other races this season, where they were the fastest car, even if that didn't result in them winning the race. Therefore, I have no reason to suspect the McLaren car won't then be the fastest at Monza, a circuit where sheer pace is king, and thus, I predict a McLaren 1-2 at Monza, just like we saw back in 2021, when Danny Rick, Lando, and Zach Brown were all on the podium doing shoeies. My second race prediction is that Mercedes won't have a car finish in the top 5. After winning 3 out of 4 races headed into the F1 summer break, Mercedes' start to this second phase of the F1 season has been nothing short of uninspiring. P7 for Russell and P8 for Lewis at Zandvoort is pretty remarkably disappointing for the Silver Arrows after all their recent success. They both finished behind Checo Perez, which is how you know they're down bad right now. Given that performance at the Dutch Grand Prix, Mercedes' lackluster performance at Monza last year, how both Ferraris beat both Mercedes at both of those aforementioned races, and how McLaren and Red Bull are both looking far quicker than Mercedes after Zandvoort, I think neither Mercedes car finishes in the top 5 for the second race in a row to make Lewis feel better about his decision to move to Ferrari after this season. My third race prediction is that Alex Albon will finish in the points. Yes, I know I predicted this last week, essentially. And no, I'm not going to keep predicting it until it comes true because that might take a while. The reasons why I'm running back this prediction are because the Williams upgrades are looking solid despite how they got Alex Albon disqualified, and because Williams have finished in the points at Monza the last 3 years in a row. So why would they stop now, right? Why would they stop now, right? And last but not least, here's my prediction for the top 5 finishers in the Italian Grand Prix with zero reasoning nor explanation. P5, Checo Perez, P4, Carlos Sainz, P3, Max Verstappen, P2, Oscar Piastri, and P1, Lando Norris. Special shout out to my top YouTube channel members, Joe Max's #1 hitter Snow, Brian Linton, Wolfsels Racing, Waffleopagus, and David Hake. Mash that join button just below this video to get your name shouted out right here in future videos. Till next time, folks, J-Bomb! J-Bomb!